Hey everybody, this is Diana Mayfield, the head of content here at DesignFiles. Today we are going to dive into our tasks feature to help you wrangle projects like never before. We are joined by Rasheeda Gray, the founder and principal of Gray Space Interiors. Rasheeda is an entrepreneur, speaker, and TV personality. She and her talented team have completed over 100 design projects, and she's been featured on Good Day Philadelphia, HGTV, and the Magnolia Network. Thanks for joining us, Rasheeda. How's it going?
Oh, you're muted, Rasheeda.
You're muted.
Good. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yay, thank you so much. And today, guys, we also have Sheila McSporran, our very own CEO. Sheila is here to chat with us about task management, and she's also going to answer any questions that you might have about this awesome feature during our Q&A. So you guys don't have to wait, for the Q&A. If anything comes up, any little question comes up, go ahead and pop it in the chat as you think of it. And Rasheeda, we were just chatting about you are on vacation. Maybe tell us, I think you were saying you're going to an amusement park. Is that what you were saying?
Well, first, take a look at these beautiful window treatments behind me, which means I am not in my home. These are probably made about 20 years ago. So we are at a very humble resort in Williamsburg, but the kids love it here. We're in Virginia, which is about 5 hours from our home. And we go to Busch Gardens and Water Country and just let them go to the pool and just have a blast. So we are on a family vacay.
That sounds awesome. Well,
and I threatened the kids. I said, if you make a noise, right, we're not going to the water park.
Everybody be quiet. That's why the littlest isn't even here, because I'm like, I know she's going to just barrel through the door. Yeah. So happy summer. Happy summer to everybody with little ones or running afoot. We are going to jump right in. Rasheeda, Sheila and I are going to hop off while you get into it, and then we will come back for Q&A.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, I am excited to be here. Thank you to the entire DesignFiles team for having me. And I'm excited to chat with you guys about task, specifically in DesignFiles. I don't know about you, but I was super excited when this feature was rolled out. So let's jump right into it. Again, my name is Rasheeda Gray. I am principal and CEO of Gray Space Interiors, which is a design firm based in Elkins Park, Pennsylvania, right outside of Philadelphia. We specialize in new builds, renovations, and full home furnishings. And I'll get into our background in a bit, but I just wanted to kind of jump right into task and why it's important to us, just to level set the conversation. So it's interesting because I'm on vacation, and so that means I don't have dual screens. But essentially, when I think about our team and where we are in our entrepreneurial journey, right now we would find ourselves managing anywhere between 8 to 20 projects at one time. We're a team of 4, and I'll dig into that in a bit. So you can imagine just how important tasks are for us because of our workload. So next slide, please. Unless I am able to do that. There we go. Thank you. So as mentioned, my name is Rasheeda Gray. I'm a designer, influencer, TV personality. I always say I'm an entrepreneur first. And so that's why task and project management is super important to me and super critical for our firm. I think, as talented as we all may be, without proper project management, we may not have a successful firm. We were named House Beautiful Next Wave Designer and Philadelphia Most Influential 40 Under 40. And a little bit of background about myself. My design journey began after actually 15-year career in marketing and business development. I, like many other designers, I'm actually noticing in the industry, came to design as a second career. And so I actually graduated with my undergrad in marketing, and then obtained a master's in business development, or excuse me, business management. And I worked for insurance companies, so totally different industry, and really focused on marketing and business development and communications across commercial and personal insurance and financial services. So great career. I worked for companies like State Farm and Chubb Insurance, to name a few. And I've always felt in that process and that journey that there was something missing from my career, some sort of purpose. And so that's how I discovered design. One project for a friend led to almost actually 200 projects later. And I'll get, excuse me, I got a little teary in my eye. And I'll get into details behind our projects in a second. But that's a little bit of my background. And of course, more importantly, I am a wife to my contractor. He's now my contractor, Jake, my children, Kennedy and Jacob. And we have a little dog named Prince, whose middle name is TD, which stands for the dog. He was named by my 9-year-old at the time. So that's a little bit about our family. Next slide. Or me. Grayspace. So a bit about our firm, just to give you some context and perspective. We were founded in 2016. When I was transitioning careers, I started Grayspace on a part-time basis, although it felt like full-time hours, just trying to build the business. And so from 2016 until 2019, I worked both my corporate career as an assistant vice president of marketing and communications at the time, and built Grayspace. So in 2019, we went full time. And you guys all know what happened in 2020. We all experienced mega growth in one way or the other. And so we had to learn project management really quickly. To date, we've completed close to 200 projects, mostly residential. As a firm, we've won Best Design Firm in Montgomery County, which is the county that we sit in Pennsylvania. And our approach to design, I would say, can be found at the intersection of creativity, functionality, and process. And so that verbiage is on our website. It's on our marketing materials. It is embedded in who we are and how we operate here at Grayspace. Also on our website is a little bit about our team, which I'll dig into in a second on the next slide. But essentially, our team is comprised of creatives who really have professional experience in business, specifically construction, project management, and marketing. And so those experiences prove valuable throughout the design process. And so we are really hanging our hat on project management and process. And, really that comes from my background. As I mentioned, I spent 15 years in marketing and communications, business development, but I feel like almost every sort of industry and role or skill set requires a level of project management. And so that was a huge part of my job in insurance, and very much so a huge part of our job as designers, architects, etc. So project management is critical. And, as a second career designer, I wanted to hang my hat on what skills do I have that I'm really good at as I transition into a new career, and project management made that cut. So, and then you can just see where our work has been celebrated across different networks like HGTV, the Magnolia Network, A&E, and then of course, and our beloved publications like Architectural Digest, House Beautiful, The Rob Report, and more. Next slide. Okay. Our team. So this is important just to highlight. I mentioned since 2016, we've serviced over 200 projects. And our projects, and you'll see our services in the next slide, but it ranges from full design, which is, soup to nuts, concept to installation, to virtual design, which would be concept to delivering the plan. And then the client would be responsible for installation. And so when I say 200 projects, that entails all of those service types. But I would say about 80% of our projects are full design, 20% are e-design or consulting. And Our team consists of 4 people at the current moment. Technically, we have 1 employee plus myself, and then we have 2 contractors. But the breakdown of our team is myself, who we all wear many hats as business owners. So I would say I'm CEO, CMO, and principal designer. So I bring my marketing background into my role every day. Megan, who's been with our team for a few years now, she is my right hand, my operations and procurement specialist. And so she does all things admin, all things, she's the project manager, really. We're giving her the directive, but she's keeping everything in alignment. And I'll talk about how her role actually works within task and design files. But she is essentially admin and operations. Felicia, and that should be junior, not Junyin. Felicia is a junior designer, and she is virtual. So I'll talk about how that is embedded into how we operate within tasks. And she's also sort of our technician. So when it comes to CAD files and Revit, SketchUp, et cetera, you name it, Felicia is usually the person performing those tasks. Jessica is a junior designer as well, fairly new to our team, but she serves as junior designer, some technician, and then project manager. She's in the field with me for projects. And then lastly, we, of course, have a bookkeeper, a PR firm that we've contracted, our preferred contractor, construction contractor, which is my husband, and other vendors. Next slide. So just a quick snapshot of our services. I mentioned full design, e-design. Really for me, the thought behind this is when I started design, I really wanted to be approachable. I wanted interior design to be for anyone who really made a intentional investment into their home. And so, as a child growing up, I didn't choose design as a career because I just wasn't aware of it. I didn't have the knowledge of it. And so I would imagine many of my peers may be the same way. And so I wanted to provide a design service options that would speak to anyone who really made intentional investments in their home. And so we have full design, e-design, and consulting. Kind of went through some of those earlier. But for consulting, we essentially do that on an ad hoc basis. Depends on the project, depends on the scope. I usually make that decision. But one of our sort of package services under consulting is called the expert. And that's where we are on site for 2 hours at a potential client's home. Actually, I guess they would be a client at that point. They can certainly just hire us for the expert only for 2 hours. And we're providing on the spot advice. But again, most of our design projects are full design where we work from concept to installation, including renovation, new builds, and furnishings. Next slide. This is just a screenshot of our work. Everything from new builds that we've customized to full-on renovations of whole homes, including kitchens and baths. There's a few show house pictures in there. And there's a few pictures of projects where we did 2 rooms, 3 rooms. But you certainly can check out more of our work on our Instagram, which is Gray Space Interiors, and then our website as well. Next slide. So I wanted to go through the journey a little bit. And then after this, I will dig into like the meat and potatoes behind why and how we use DesignFiles Task. So our journey. So we started in 2016, and I mentioned my background mainly to share that, project management is important to me. And so once we were able to start working in DesignFiles for a task, we actually streamlined our workflow. There's just so many benefits, and I'll go through that. Prior to that, right before we switched to DesignFiles Tasks, we worked in 3 separate programs on a daily basis. It was clunky, time-consuming, miscommunication. We're like, wait, where did you save those notes? Where did you put this task? What did we say in the last meeting? All of those kinds of conversations were happening, and we wanted to minimize that as much as possible. So where we started, which is not listed on here, is Excel spreadsheets. And I think everyone sort of starts there. I knew I didn't have a corporate budget. Like I didn't have the budget of insurance companies I worked for. And so I couldn't do a CRM system like Salesforce or something like that. So I just kind of took what I knew and put that on Excel spreadsheets. And while it worked for a while, again, it was clunky and time consuming. So then we found this system called Dubsado, if anyone's familiar. And we love Dubsado. We actually still use it to this day, but for different reasons. And so we started using Dubsado in 2018. It is very much a system where you have to build it to serve what you need from scratch. So that's a little challenging. I should have put as a bullet point under Dubsado that there is a steep learning curve or a steep sort of like startup with that system. It is also workflow based. And so in Dubsado, you're able to create a workflow that says, call the client, then send this email. And while those emails are automated, it provides this workflow. It doesn't provide a customization to task, which as interior designers are in this industry, I think that's very important to have some level of customization, especially when we're working in luxury industries, where you have high level of detail and you have, I mean, we are the project manager of our clients' projects. And so the workflow, while the very beginning of the project, like the onboarding stage, may be very streamlined or may be very similar in some ways. As you get into each project, the workflow sort of becomes null and void, because I probably won't, let's say, I don't know, select a shower diverter and valve for every single project. So to put that in the workflow and then have to sort of delete and edit in Dubsado became clunky. So I love that in DesignFiles, you get to do individual tasks that are in a template, but you get a bit more flexibility. Also in Dubsado, it's very externally focused. And so we still use Dubsado for onboarding because it automates that process for us. So when someone comes into our website, they automatically receive a hello email with next steps kind of thing. And they automatically receive a discovery call email, etc. So we still use it for that, but it's very externally focused instead of internal within our team for communication. And it does not have a very smooth QuickBooks integration. And I don't know why I can't say that word, integration. And so we use that as a CRM and workflows. Asana. So we then moved over to Asana in 2022 to try to remove some of the clunkiness and to improve our task management. At that time, we were just out of the insanity that was COVID. We were starting to breathe a bit, and we made quite a few mistakes during COVID. Projects increased, and we weren't ready for that capacity, and so we couldn't catch up our work, our team, like the amount of team members that we needed to handle the workflow that came. And so as a result, there were mistakes. And I got a chance to breathe from that and said, we have to minimize the mistakes. When you order $6,000 extra of wallpaper, the light bulb starts to go off and you say something must change. And so in comes Asana, which is very much task driven. But it's not client friendly. It's not client facing, from what I understand. We tried Asana for about a year and a half. It requires other systems to be able to communicate effectively. Sometimes it can be overly complicated. I felt like we only scratched the surface, and it is very expensive. I just found myself saying, wait, why is it an increased cost this month? And really, it's not a CRM like Dubsado is. Doesn't have workflows. It's just task based. So it's pretty limited in that function. And then here we are, DesignFiles. I can't recall how long ago Task rolled out, But I would say within the last 6 months, perhaps, I'm sure Sheila will speak to that later. But Design Files for us, we have used Design Files since 2018 for designing our full service projects. And so we've always used Design Files for designing. We love the system. We started to tinker with invoicing and Design Files, but we love the interface and it's user friendly. We chat with our clients throughout the design process in the system, but now we are able to manage our tasks as well. So what we did is we basically took our 6-step process, which really is 75 steps. I haven't counted, but it's very close to that. Maybe 50 now because I've minimized the repetitiveness. I'm always tweaking our process, but our 6-step process is now sort of outlined in templates within Design Files, and we pulled that from Asana and sort of pared it down a bit. Of course, one-stop shop for design and project management. We love the layout and the user interface. It's really easy to use, highly customizable, and team-centric, which I love. I get to, when I'm meeting with my team and I'm asking for a task to be done, right then and there, I'm adding it into Design Files. And so now we have design program, task management, and somewhat of a CRM built into Design Files. So next slide. Okay, meat and potatoes, task and action. So how are we able to use Design Files task in a way that benefits our design firm? And I think that this would be helpful to you as a designer or in the design industry as well. So my very first point is action-based project management. And so one rule of thumb that I keep in mind for myself and for my team when we are working in Design Files for task management is that our task must be action-based. And so when we're writing a task or assigning a task, is there a to-do with it? So action-based project management keeps all project-related information, including project to-dos, design plans, and timelines organized. And it's easily accessible. We all sort of know now we're in this one centralized location. And we spend, I would say, if all the websites that we use or tools that we use were in Design Files most of our day. And so now that has increased. Team collaboration. So I mentioned earlier that we have a team of 4, 2 designers who are 1099 based, as well as operations administrative employee. And so I have to be intentional about project management, especially for my contractors. I ultimately can't or not allowed to assign like hours of work, although we do work within a set sort of like window within our team for our contractor designers. But I certainly can assign projects and tasks. And so Design Files allows me to do that. Design Files for team collaboration helps us to streamline our internal processes, workflows, allowing for better coordination amongst the team, whether they're in the office or virtual. And we've found that this has increased productivity and, of course, faster project completion, which means dollars in our pockets. And I would say risk management is really important. This is one benefit that I just landed on not too long ago, because what I find when I'm creating a template or for our 6-step process or reviewing our existing template is that I'm looking for loopholes. And so how many times have you, as a designer, gone through a project, something happened, and then you took the negative, let's say, the client took 2 weeks to respond to a simple email, as an example. So you take that negative experience and then you build that into your project management, or you build that into your task. And so, or you add it into your contract, or both. And so I'm able to sort of on the spot manage a template and make adjustments as needed as we learn more and more as we grow as a design firm. And so I think that helps to mitigate risk and identify risk before they escalate, just having those templates at hand. For example, we now have added a moment right after demo day to go on site and remeasure, because once things are demoed, as you know, measurements could change. And also there could be problems that are identified beyond the walls. And so adding that step has helped to mitigate risk, like ordering a console table that's too big or not ordering enough tile, which could slow a project down by a few weeks if the tile's on back order. So all of those things are being sort of managed through task and design files. Pipeline and projects. So this is one thing that our operations specialist is in charge of. She really keeps me aligned. As a CEO, it's hard to sort of focus on the nitty gritty, and so this is like my accountability to ensure that our entire team is on task or on schedule. So pipeline and projects. When we start our design projects, as soon as someone signs a contract, we have our onboarding, and then part of the onboarding is to pipeline the project. And so once someone starts, typically we will do our design presentation for 4 to 6 weeks after they begin the project with us. And so our Megan is going in and actually selecting a date 4 to 6 weeks from now, so that that task, and assigning it to the designer for the project, so that task pops up at that point, so that we can ensure and I can ensure that our projects are all being completed within a certain timeline. When we're managing 10 plus projects, it can be easy to lose track of where a project may be or how long they've been a project. And so we may feel as a designer, oh, this is moving pretty fast, when in reality it may not be. So we pipeline at least every step of our 6-step process, but sometimes almost every task in our 6-step process, to ensure that projects stay on time. And time is money, so we want to make sure they stay on time. Saves time and money. Speaking of that, essentially, I talked about this a little bit earlier. We want to make sure critical steps aren't missed on our side. Like if we're designing and we forget to look at our checklist, which is linked in our DesignFiles task for kitchens or baths, then we may forget something that's pretty critical for the contractor. I don't know, let's say something simple like a Schluter edge or Schluter trim. And then we have to order it. And then it takes 2 weeks. And now the contractor has to move on to another project. And it just throws everything off. That was a very extreme example. But just having these sort of checklists or tasks helps to save time and money. For me, team accountability is really important. And so I'm able to assign tasks. Megan, my admin, really my team, they're able to assign tasks to me if I ask them to, if I'm the lead designer on the project. But for me, I am assigning tasks and tracking the progress to ensure that we're successful. And it really just allows everyone to know what their team members or what the rest of the team is doing. And then if there's any bottlenecks, like I'm in this phase of entrepreneurship where I have to retell myself it is okay to delegate. You must delegate. Delegate that. And so I'm definitely much better than I was even just last year. But that is something where I am being very intentional, and DesignFiles Tasks helps me to do so. Competitive advantage. I talked earlier about sort of my background and how that transferable skill translates over to design of project management. And so, again, we hang our hats on being excellent project managers. And our target client, the busy professional who really knows what he or she wants, but doesn't have the time to execute, nor really is interested in executing a design project. Those target clients really value efficiency and a seamless design journey. And they've told us so. we've had a few of our reviews on our website and on Google where clients specifically called out that they appreciate and really enjoy our project management and our design process. And so it is a competitive advantage that we sort of rely on. And then a whole firm task, even outside of projects. I talked a lot about client projects so far, but we have tasks that aren't related to client projects. You know, I don't know, order print or ink for the printer, whatever that task might be. We are able to include that in design files as well, because you can create tasks outside of projects. Okay, that was a big slide, but I think I've covered everything. Yes. Next slide. Okay, so the rest of the slides, and then I'll turn it over for questions, are really centered on our exact process. So you guys are peeking into my design files. I hope I don't have any pending tasks. Nope, they're not there. So our notifications, I should say, any pending notifications. And so this is our task template, phase 1 through 6. It is very specific to our design firm, so I'm not sure if it's going to be helpful to kind of use it word for word, excuse me. And I don't have my glasses on, so I'm going to pull it up on my phone. But I just want to kind of share with you sort of how we outline our projects. So for us, the first phase is the onboarding, our project launch phase. And in our design firm, if there is a potential project that's over 50K, then I am handling the discovery call. If it's under 50K, then my operations specialist, Megan, is handling the discovery call. Then the next action item is discovery call itself. And there is a script linked inside of this task. So we all have, whether it's Megan or myself, we're all saying the same thing to potential clients. And then we're launching proper Dubsado workflow, which really essentially means that we are launching some automated onboarding items out of Dubsado. Consult prep. By this time, the client has, through Dubsado and that automation, they've already scheduled their discovery call. Of course, we've had that. And then they've scheduled, ideally, their consult, all automated. And then the consult, which we do charge for, is on our calendar, and now we're prepping for that consultation. So there's 3 subtasks. It says things like make sure you grab a consult gray space canvas bag and our folder with our printed marketing materials. Ensure that here's the agenda when we're on site for the consult. So those things are there. The consult itself, and then post consult, that's when I'm developing the proposal, and there's some subtasks underneath that. So that's our onboarding, our phase 1 of our projects. Next slide. Phase 2, of course, the design phase takes a little bit more time, has a few more steps. I won't go through all of them in detail, but it covers everything from, I need to zoom in my phone, client onboarding. So once they're in phase 2, they've signed our contract, made their initial payment. And so we're going to onboard them by sending a client welcome gift and a few other items, scheduling our first bit of communication with them, which for us is a mood board and floor plan call. And so those things are listed there. We actually present the mood boards. And then from there, we are going to order some samples and begin the design phase version 1. In the midst of that, if there's CAD plans to be completed, they're done. And then once we have a design plan draft and our CAD plans, we can then pull in the contractor for an official estimate. So that's the top of the second half of the screen there. And then we're presenting, of course, I think we presented 2 steps back. Yeah. Under design plans V1, we're presenting, then we get our contractor estimate. Then we're going to develop V2 if there's any changes to the design plans. And then we're going to make sure that we double check our construction checklist. So there's a link below where we have kitchens and baths, mostly making sure that we actually have everything the contractor might need in terms of finish materials. If we're doing renderings, FG is Felicia Gordon. Actually, she just got married, and her last name is not Gordon anymore. It should be FF. So anyways, we would have Felicia pull together renderings if necessary. We need a client approval in DesignFiles. And then we want to schedule a client and contractor meeting to discuss the timeline, next steps, just to make sure that everyone's on board now that the design plan is finalized. Then we have an individual meeting with just the contractor, just to ensure they have everything they need. By that time, we would be prepping for procurement because now we know exactly that we have everything spec'd for the contractor, and we're prepping for ordering. And then we go ahead and send some invoices over to the client to begin ordering. And then we do on-site material review with the client 1 week before demo. So all of those detailed action-oriented tasks are listed in DesignFiles, and we assign them to the appropriate team member. Next slide. Phase 3 isn't so detailed. It's essentially procurement. And so in the procurement stage, we are actually ordering. And then right now you see it's assigned to Grayspace. This was just a template, but Grayspace is essentially Megan, our admin. And so she's doing all the procurement. If there's any replacements or out of stocks, she's working with the designers to do that. We create a budget sheet to track everything. And then along the way, this is something that we are becoming more and more intentional about. We are going to track our time in DesignFiles, which is all in the same system, which is great. Okay, step 4, next slide. Project management. And so this is, this is the part of our process that varies by project, right? And so for us, what is consistent is there will be site visits. We try to make them on average once a week. There will be Friday emails to all of our clients. But you can kind of see some of the project management to-dos. We're updating an order tracking sheet for a client so they know when to expect which items to be in by to the receiver. We're auditing our budget. We're checking in with the warehouse, and that includes giving them a heads up on exactly what's to be expected, making sure there isn't anything damaged. We're going to do a punch list walkthrough in addition to our weekly visits with the client and the contractor. And then we are going to go ahead and start working on scheduling our furniture install, sending a final invoice, and then doing a pre-install inventory check. Next slide. And then last but not least, for the client at least, is step 5, which is installation. And there's just some prep work that we do as a team prior to that. We can go to this next slide. And then phase 6, post-install. That is where we are probably handling some service issues, some returns, if there's any damage. And then if we have to have any supplemental installs, we're scheduling photography. We're sending our final budget summary to the client and our closeout binder, which we provide to all of our clients, which has before and after photos, instructions for care for the items that they have in their home, etc. Thank you note, and ask for referrals is a part of that package. So that is our step 6, our last final phase for our projects. So with that, I am all done presenting. I want to see if, oh, there they are. Okay. I'm going to turn it back over to the DesignFiles teams. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was so awesome. I really loved, like the tips that you gave. We're getting some great questions and comments here. And thank you for taking those screenshots and showing us those specific things. Sheila,
I totally did not see comments until just now.
Oh,
so.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh, they're coming in.
Yeah. So no worries there.
Okay,
yeah, we can hop into some of those. Sheila, before we hop into some questions, did you have anything that you wanted to add, or should I?
I think it's probably okay to hop in to do some questions from the audience first. We want to make sure that we're getting answers for everybody. And if there's a need to go into something specific, then we can absolutely do that.
Okay, cool. So first question is, what would you suggest is the best way to learn everything there is to learn on DesignFiles while building a new design offering in our existing renovation business?
I would say YouTube videos are great.
Yeah.
So much so that I use Task in DesignFiles, and I said to myself, I better go and view the YouTube video on Task just to ensure I'm not missing a feature or something that I can share with the audience. So yeah, the YouTube videos that you guys provide are really, really great.
Nice.
Glad to hear that. One of the things that I would actually also add to that, Diana, and I'm sorry, I don't know who asked the question, but if you haven't already scheduled a one-on-one demo, you can do that. So you can schedule a call with Jackie or Jen. And if you just want to see how you can use DesignFiles from start to finish for your project, they'll walk you through every single step and they'll be able to answer your questions. So sometimes it can be easier to just hop on and have that one-on-one call because then you can address very specific questions.
Okay. And then our next question is, Rasheeda, it's my understanding that the DF project management system is just a tasking system. Are you able to use milestones and tie dependencies to these milestones to automatically move? Or is it tasks and subtasks and Megan is manually moving things when deadlines are missed? And how does that affect you, or how does that work for you?
Yep, it's the latter. It's not an automatic, and you guys probably can speak to the technical side of that a bit more, but it's quite all right for us because if something's missed, I want to know. And so it gives us a chance to reset and then also make sure we're communicating the expectations to the client. And so, yeah, I don't mind that it's manual. It just keeps us on our toes to ensure we're actually effectively managing each project.
Okay, makes sense.
Can I throw in on that?
Yeah.
So great point. Great point. So what we could definitely do is just kind of look to continue to improve the overall task management features so that you're able to have those set milestones and get your notifications and make sure everything's going to be dealt with on the exact time. But just curious, Rasheeda, do you use the calendar feature in DesignFiles that's also connected to the tasks so that you can see all the tasks show up on the calendar and your whole team can see that too?
I don't.
Okay.
Only because it's a partial calendar for me. It doesn't have like appointments, things like that. Well, I guess it could. But no, we rely on our Google Calendar. And if there is, because I kind of think calendar means I need to go somewhere or I need to be on a call. And then task, like checklist, like task is like an action, do something at my desk. So I sort of keep the calendar features separate and I rely on my Google Calendar for things that I need to like physically be at. So yeah, I keep them separate.
Okay, interesting. Everybody works a little bit differently, so just thought I would throw it out there and see how you kind of deal with it. So awesome.
Yeah. Cool. Rasheeda, can you speak to how you use tasks for onboarding, like for onboarding new team members?
Yeah. Oh, team members or clients?
Or I guess either way. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I really don't onboarding new team members. We don't do that often enough. Now, I generally speaking, as an entrepreneur, I really should have a standard operating procedure on onboarding team members and take it from up here to put it into a task. But that's not there yet. But for clients, once they become, so we use Dubsado and there's Honeybook and all types of systems, but we use that up until when they become a client. As soon as they become a client, they're now in DesignFiles. And so once they become a client, there's an onboarding checklist that's like, did I countersign the contract? Did we send the first invoice? Did we send them a welcome email? Did we order the client gift? And did we schedule their very first deliverable, which is the mood board presentation? So those are sort of the 5 sub steps of onboarding.
Okay, makes sense. And then after you create individual templates, how do you copy the templates into each new project?
Oh, I forget. Megan does it. Gosh.
Delegate. Sounds like you're doing it.
Yep. I forget how to do it. I think you start a project and then you can just click and assign. You start the project first and then you can assign a task. Is that right, ladies?
It is right. I'm wondering if it would be helpful, like I can share my screen if we want to see how that works.
Somebody did ask if we could demo it. So if you can get that popped up.
Okay, yeah, give me 1 second here.
Look into other.
Let me just see if I've got access to share.
Okay, there we go.
Let's see here. Okay, Diana, let me know if you're seeing it on your end.
Yeah,
okay, cool.
I just added it.
So you do have the ability to create templated task lists within DesignFiles. There's 2 different ways that you can approach creating tasks. You've got your global task section up here. So this is every task that you've created for all your projects. This is where you're going to be able to view them all. And over here, you can see that there's an option here to use a template. So if I click into this, it's going to show me all the templated task lists that I've already created. If I want to manage my templates, then I can go in here. And then here, I'll see each and every one of them. So you can see for my onboarding task list, I've got 8 specific tasks within that. If I want to edit that, I can go in here and edit it, or I can delete it, create a whole new templated task list. But here you'll see everything that's already included within this template. Now, if I wanted to use this template for another client project, maybe I just got a client yesterday and I want to kickstart into setting up the task for that project, what I would do is I would go into my projects. You do need to create your project first. So let's just call this test. And then once I've created my project, I can go into the tasks here. So originally I was using the global option, but you'll notice that within each project, you'll see that you've got a task option. So you'd click into that. And then over here, you can see that I can use a template. And if I want to start adding my onboarding one, my offboarding one, my procurement task list, I just click on it. It's going to load it in here. And now it's added to this project. So then I can start knocking these things off as I complete them for this specific client.
Cool.
I'll stop sharing. And then maybe what I'll do is if that answers that question, then we're good. And if we need to spin it back up and share the screen again, then we can do that for the next one.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that was great. So another question, or kind of like I guess we're getting some feedback in here. So in terms of product feedback, we're gonna have to dig into these comments because this might be some good product stuff. So actually, I'm gonna skip past that one. Rasheeda, what is your onboarding gift for clients?
Oh, it's flowers.
Okay. Cool.
We send flowers, but my questionnaire that I haven't transferred from Dubsado to DesignFiles yet, I'll get there. But my questionnaire asks the client what their favorite flowers are. So I just send them, we send them that.
That's a nice touch. That's a really nice touch.
Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's any, some of the, like I said, are kind of, feedback and maybe some improvements in terms of maybe adding milestones because they're more like deadlines, where tasks are action oriented and milestones are more like deadlines. Is there a way to resolve that with the way that the feature is now?
I think we would just need to take that feedback back to. Oh, go ahead, Rasheeda. You go ahead in case you've got a word.
No, please go ahead.
It's too many people on this call. All right. What I was going to say is I think we would just need to take that feedback back to the team. And then we can start looking into setting up those milestones so that we have sort of that specific date rather than that action-based task-specific element, so that you can say, hey, this was taken care of or this has been missed. So if you have, I guess, more specific details about those milestones that you would like us to focus on, you can shoot me an email. Just list it out in the email so I can take it back to the team and we can look into it and see what it would take to set something like that up.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm following totally, but I'll just share what's on my mind. So when we start a project, we pipeline the project. So we'll say the mood board call is due 2 weeks from start. And then the design presentation is due 6 weeks from start. And if we miss that, we'll adjust it. But then that's a conversation that we have to have internally. So we set that from the start of the project to kind of give us those milestones. I don't know if that answers that question or not, but
yeah,
I think they were saying sort of like the next task is based on the completion of another task. which is a little bit more automation, which it works because Dubsado has that, but it doesn't work at a certain point in a project. I think like once you get past what we can control, like once you get into the construction of a project or anything like that, that's outside of our control, it's hard to automate. Like we know that we're going to, I don't know, send a thank you note 8 weeks from or 8 months from the start. There's no way because we just don't know when that date will happen. So it's kind of hard to automate when things will happen after a certain point in the project.
Right.
That makes sense. Yeah, you don't want that visibility. Well, we're getting some positive comments, so I think that we are addressing that well.
Good.
Another question, Rasheeda, is do you think that design files can work for a beginner? We've got somebody that's just starting
Oh
out.
yeah. I started DesignFiles for designing in 2018. In terms of task, I feel like it is a much more simple user interface than what I've seen with Asana, and definitely than what I've seen in Dubsado. So yeah, I think it's very user friendly. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. So yeah, I think some other, like I said, comments are more about product feedback and some like where people would like to see things go. I'm trying to see. Oh,
I
okay.
think
Here's
someone
another
said,
question. Yeah, go ahead.
go ahead. Oh,
Yeah, I see another question just popped up on, do you track your procurement in design files as well?
I don't yet. We are working towards that. Right now we're using spreadsheets. I know. But we're working
All right,
towards it.
Rashida, we're going to have to get on a call. We're going to figure that one out.
What have we been doing? Why are we using spreadsheets? It's so easy. We're designing in design files. We just got to create POs and yeah. So we're testing it out. We will. We do have to get on the call. It's the next step for us.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Someone asked, gosh, there was a question above. I'll go back to, is Dubsado my onboarding and DesignFiles task management? For us, yes, simply because Dubsado allows automation, and we get, I don't want to say, I mean, it's changed over the last year or two, but we get a handful of inquiries, right? Like, so, and some may be tire kickers or some may not be the right fit, I should say that. And so the automation in Dubsado to say like, here's the form on our website that says if your budget is not within this range, it's not a good fit. Or someone who doesn't want to complete an automated questionnaire sent to them. So for us it's not onboarding, sorry, it's prospecting. Let me say that. Dubsado is for prospecting. DesignFiles is for onboarding and clients. So onboarding to me means they are a client and we are bringing them on board to start a project. For prospecting, leads and prospects. So when someone is like a cold lead and we're reaching out to them, or they may have just saw us somewhere, and if they're a prospect, they've reached out to us. Before they become a client, they're in Dubsado. That's the difference. So yes, we use Dubsado for prospecting and DesignFiles for everything else.
Great. Makes sense. Yeah. So I think we could probably wrap up, unless really quickly, Sheila, you want to just answer how you would track procurement with DesignFiles, because I think somebody's not familiar with that feature.
Yeah, so basically, and you know what, maybe again, I'm just probably going to see if I've got a project in my account that I can use so I can show you how you would track this. So let's see here. Okay, let me see if I've got a project. We'll go into this project right here. Let's see if we've got some POs in here. If we are dealing with procurement, so I'm just wondering how far back I should go. Maybe what I'll do here is let's go back into the actual designs and we'll just kind of talk a little bit about the overall workflow. So let's say that I created this design right here for my client, and they've gone through and let's say that they've approved a bunch of these items for order. So they're really happy with the products that I've recommended. So the next step that I would probably take would be to go ahead and invoice my clients for those products, because what I want to do is I want to make sure that I get the payment from them up front before I go ahead and place the order with the vendor. And I can also take my invoice that I've created in DesignFiles and I can turn that directly into POs. So I don't actually have to make the POs manually myself. So what I would do is I'd probably go into the invoices here. We're going to create a brand new invoice. And when I go in to create a brand new invoice, you'll see down here that I can add products. So if I click into this, it's going to show me all of the items that I used within this project. And if I go into this feature right here, I can narrow it down to all the approved products for this particular project. So if they approved items on a variety of different design boards, then they're all going to show here. And what I can do is I could just click this checkbox right here and automatically add all of these products directly to my invoice. The system will pull in all of the product information. And then from there, I'll be able to go ahead and just get this invoice prepared and sent out to my client. So you can see all the items are being pulled in. And it's pulling in all the product information. If you added any markup to the products, it's going to pull that in as well. And let's see here. If I come down to the bottom, then I can just go ahead and add a tax. And I can shoot this email off to my client and collect payment. So you have your ability to grab it by credit card or by ACH. Let's just say that I'm just going to save this as a draft for now because I just want to set this invoice as saved so I can show you how you would then turn the invoice into POs and then track all your POs in your product tracker. So you can set whatever settings you want for your invoice. You can send it out to your client, but for now, I'm just going to save this as a draft. And let's see here. We've got this saved as a draft right here. If I pop over here to this button with the 3 dots, you'll see that I can go down here and I can create POs from this invoice. So I would just click this. It's going to show me all of the vendors that I used for this particular invoice. And I can just click the checkbox here to create purchase orders for each and every one of them. The system will then create the POs. And then once those POs are created, which you can see right here, all of those are going to be added to my order tracker. So if I go into my order tracker over here, then I'll see all of the different POs that I have on the go for this particular project. I can click into any of these, and this is where I can start tracking the details now for these orders. So you can come in and you can say the date that you ordered the products on. As you get information from the vendor saying that the products have been shipped, or if they're at the receiver, you or any of your team members can come in here and you can say the exact date that that happened on. You can add notes to anything. And if you want to add private notes for your internal team, you would add them here. If you actually want to add notes that will show on your client-facing tracker, because you do have the ability to share a client-facing tracker with your client so they can just pop into their account and see the order, see the status of their orders versus having to always ping you for some updates. Any notes that you add over here will show in the client-facing tracker as well. So you can just kind of keep that in mind, whether you're dealing with notes for your internal team or notes for your client. But this is essentially where you would keep track of all of your orders, and all of the orders that you add in your DesignFiles account, they're also added to your project calendar as well. So if you wanted to use the project calendar within DesignFiles, it will, I'm going to have to go back a few months here to see if I've got any. Here we go. You can see certain tasks that have showed up here, but your orders will show up as well. And it'll show the specific status for those orders. So you'll see on a specific date, okay, you know, four products shipped. And if you click into it, then it will show you that it's, you know, the products that you got from Arteriors or from any of the other vendors that you're ordering from. So you see all the statuses for your orders, and you also see all of the tasks that you had added to that calendar as well. So hopefully that gives you a sense for how you can create your POs, have them added to your order tracker. You can enable a client preview for a client-facing order tracker. So this is what they'll see within their account whenever you decide to share the client-facing tracker with them, and they can see the status of their products. And then you also have the ability to see everything in your calendar, which is within the More section here. And that will show you any tasks and any orders that you have on the go for that particular project.
Great.
Hopefully that covers it.
Yes, that was amazing.
Thank
now
you.
I'm extra inspired to start invoicing out of DesignFiles. So yeah.
Awesome. Rasheeda, thank you so much. We have lots of wonderful feedback. People are saying that was amazing. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and experience and, digging deep into, how you have transformed your project management over time. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. All
Awesome.
right. We will see you guys for another live workshop next month.
Okay.
Bye.
Talk to you guys later.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.